Time Magazine, folks, Time Magazine comes out with the 100 most influential people of 2025. Do you know who we didn't see? Do you know whose name we didn't see on that list? Yes.
Time Magazine just published its vaunted 100 most influential people list. And somehow the woman every TV network is tripping over itself to broadcast didn't make the cut. Caitlin Clark, the single biggest ratings magnet in women's sports, was left off while two of her WNBA peers were celebrated. The snub set social media ablaze and even drew an on-air rant from Colin Cowherd, who flat out called the list nonsense.
Caitlin Clark took the WNBA and they set all-time ratings records. If Caitlin Clark's not in this, the list is nonsense. Who did the list? Time Magazine?
Yeah.
And there's no Caitlin Clark?
No, I don't think so.
That's idiotic.
But here's the kicker. In the same week Time brushed her aside, ESPN quietly cleared primetime real estate for Clark's preseason game, something the league has never pulled off before. Hold that thought, because this rabbit hole only gets deeper. When Time's glossy pages hit the stands, they featured Simone Biles, Jalen Hurts, Leon Marchand, and yes, Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart for launching the 3-on-3 Unrivaled League.
Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart made this list. Why? Because of the Unrivaled. Are you kidding me?
Clark, missing. The backlash was instant. Comment sections boiled, pundits fumed, and fans fired off "make it make sense" memes faster than Clark launches a Logo 3. Even critics who usually roll their eyes at sports list outrage admitted the omission looked petty. Clark didn't respond publicly. She rarely does. Yet the silence only amplified a question echoing through arenas and studios alike. How do you ignore the person everyone else is scheduling their calendar around? But raw emotion is only half the story, because the numbers are even louder than the outrage. According to valuation expert Professor Ryan Brewer, Clark accounted for roughly 26.5% of every dollar the WNBA generated in 2024. 1 out of every 6 butts in seats showed up because number 22 was in the building. Fox News Television told the same tale. ESPN declared 2024 its most watched WNBA season ever, with viewership up 170% year over year. The top 7 highest-rated games all featured the Indiana Fever, game after game proof of what marketers now call the Clark effect. Think about that. In a league with 12 teams and 144 roster spots, a single athlete moved the decimal point for everyone. Owners cashed bigger gate receipts, networks sold pricier ad blocks, and players across the board earned a stronger hand for the looming CBA fight. Clark didn't just raise the tide, she kicked open the floodgates. So how did the league respond? By giving broadcasters what they begged for: more Caitlin, more often.
Boston. Wheeler finds Clark from the logo.
When the 2025 national TV slate dropped, Jaws followed. The Indiana Fever landed an eye-popping 41 nationally televised or streamed games, the most in WNBA history. By comparison, the reigning champion Las Vegas Aces snagged 33, and the super team New York Liberty drew 32. 5 games on ABC, 5 on ESPN, 8 on ION, 6 on Prime Video, 10 on NBA TV, plus CBS and CBSSN sprinkled in for good measure. Translation? Wherever you flip, there's a decent chance Clark is launching a heat check from the mid-court logo. Networks aren't sentimental, they chase eyeballs. These slots weren't charity, they were cold-blooded math. Yet the selection sparked fresh grumbling from a handful of veterans who wondered aloud why one rookie-turned-sophomore was hogging the limelight. The answer sat quietly in the ratings spreadsheet, bolded and highlighted. And if regular season saturation felt unprecedented, wait until you see what happened before the first official tip-off. A preseason exhibition normally draws a few thousand diehards and flies under the TV radar. Not this year. When the Fever scheduled a May 4th tune up against Brazil's national team in Iowa City, 15,000 tickets vanished in under 45 minutes, with resale prices soaring past $250. ESPN pounced, making the matchup the first nationally televised WNBA preseason game ever.
This is the first time an exhibition game has been picked up ever in WNBA history.
Picture it. A game that won't count in the standings airing on the world's biggest sports network because the Clark Circus is simply too lucrative to ignore. It's the kind of storyline league historians will point to when explaining how women's basketball finally cracked the mainstream. And arenas themselves are literally cracking at the seams trying to keep up. The Atlanta Dream shifted their home date with Indiana from a cozy 5,000-seat hall to State Farm Arena's 17,000-plus. The Chicago Sky jumped to the 20,923rd-seat United Center. Dallas, American Airlines Center. Add Washington, Las Vegas, and Connecticut to the list, and you have 6 separate franchises upsizing at least one game to NBA digs for one visiting player. Factor in the 7 teams that already play in NBA-grade venues, and the Fever will perform in a supersized house for 41 of 44 regular season dates. Ticket supply expands, revenue balloons, and the league's nightly optics shift from half-full to sold out. Yet even as cash registers sing, the narrative chorus can't find harmony. A March op-ed in The Guardian wondered why Middle America lionized Clark, but not UConn star Paige Buchers, hinting at racial undercurrents in fan behavior. A week later, ESPN analyst Monica McNutt bluntly told the BBC that Clark's mainstream magnetism stems from being a white girl from the middle of America. Cue the social media firefight. Supporters labeled the critique lazy, detractors doubled down. Meanwhile, empirical data rolled in. The 2025 NCAA Women's Final Four, Clark, less for the first time in 3 years, plunged 64% in TV ratings, dropping from 10.8 million to 3.9 million viewers. Does race factor into fandom? Sometimes. But numbers this extreme suggest skill, showmanship, and historic shot-making play a louder chord. Clark is polarizing, yes, but polarization is gasoline for modern fandom, and every major league from the NBA to the NFL thrives on it. If polarization fuels attention, the WNBA now holds a full gas can. What it does next determines the road ahead. Major League Soccer didn't shy from David Beckham in 2007 or Lionel Messi in 2023. They plastered their faces on every billboard, sold proprietary streaming bundles, and watched valuations triple. The WNBA, by contrast, wrestles with an odd guilt, a desire for equal spotlight distribution even when the marketplace begs to crown a singular superstar. Front office whispers already hint at how Clark's pull will shape the forthcoming media rights deal, rumored to flirt with $2 billion starting in 2026. Talksport players across the spectrum stand to reap the spoils, if the league leans in instead of looking away. So where does that leave us? And why should viewers care beyond the highlight reels? Caitlin Clark didn't invent women's basketball, but she's the accelerant propelling it from niche to necessary. Ignoring that isn't sharing the credit. It's leaving money, momentum, and future fans on the table. Time magazine can revise its lists next year. The WNBA, though, has a tighter deadline. Opening night is weeks away, and the sports world is watching to see whether the league lets its brightest star illuminate everyone, or whether old insecurities dim the lights. So here's my challenge. Next time Clark splashes a 30-footer, notice the kids in the stands wearing jerseys, old names and new. The bigger her glow, the more room there is for every player to shine. Drop a basketball in the comments if you're ready to watch the league embrace the moment, not just survive it. And remember, this story isn't over. It's just getting warmed up.